Hi, fifth graders. So Mrs. Kaylin here. I'm happy to see everybody again. Hope you had a good week. And we're getting into the home stretch here. We only have a few weeks left. I'm hoping to be able to meet with you by Zoom one more time, probably the week after next. And hope everybody is doing well. We're going to get started today. We are kind of revisiting a subject that we've talked about before. This is a research lesson today, so we're not doing a read aloud, but I'm going to share with you some a presentation about a very important topic and share a really cool new resource that the school has that we've signed up for. So we're going to be talking about the news today because you are fifth graders, almost sixth graders. And I know that many people, especially in this strange and, somewhat stressful time that we've been living in and going through, you want to know about the world, you want to know what's happening around you, and I want to make sure that as your librarian and teacher, that you are able to be discerning consumers of the news. And what that means, and what we're going to talk about today, is how to spot fake news. So we talked a few months ago about how to be critical, take a critical look at websites and evaluate the information that you saw, and looking for the who, what, when, why, where of a website. Now, when we're talking about fake news, we're not just talking about whether something is accurate, although that's a big part of it. We're talking about information that may be deliberately inaccurate. So what I'm going to do is share a presentation with you. It's very short. And then I'm going to show you a new resource we have, which is Kidspost. It's the Washington Post's kids website, and I think it is absolutely the best news resource for kids that I have seen out there. I think it is interesting. It gives you real news articles, and also news articles that are related to science and to the arts, and like, it's a real newspaper. It's intelligent and it's interesting, but it is specifically for kids, and I think they've done a great job with it. So I'm going to share that with you, and we're going to talk a little bit about how to spot the fake news out there. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here. And pull up this presentation that Mrs. Neville and I created. Okay, so how to spot fake news. So first of all, we want to know fake news. What is it? So what do you think it is? You can I know that we are not Zooming right now. We are, you're just watching the screen, but think about, what do you think that is? What does that term mean to you? Because it's a term that actually, we might use it in a different way than I've heard some politicians use it and other people in the news. What we're talking about is information that is deliberately false. News that, I say news in quotes, information that has been published to appear to be true, but that has a particular agenda in mind that might want to convince you that something is true that it isn't. So how do you spot that? How do you know if what you're looking at is reliable? So here's a couple of clues. So check that web address. This is, as this says, this is the red flag. There are many websites out there that may look upon a kind of quick glance like a reliable and even like a recognizable source. They might look like something you're familiar with, but they're a little bit different. This is often sort of a deliberate tool that somebody might use to make it look like something is true when it's not. So again, check, like we talked about with the credible websites, make sure that you're checking to make sure that you're really on a site that is trustworthy. What Mrs. Neville and I recommend right now, in addition to seeing that, maybe you have, as I'm circling here, that you don't have one of these kind of weird URL endings that is not a .org or a .edu or even a .com in some cases, that the whole web address really matches up with what you think it's going to be. Okay, so look at that name of the source. So again, not just the website, but the name of the organization. So you can look really quickly and say, oh, I read it in the New York City Times. Well, is the New York City Times a real newspaper? No, the New York Times is the real newspaper. Look around the site a little bit. Does it, not just the name, but are there other clues around that this is something that may not be trustworthy? Other articles that might look suspicious. Just like we talked about with the credible websites, you want to see what the perspective that somebody is coming from is. Is this a business that is trying to promote a specific point of view that may not be truthful, but that might be advantageous to them? Is this is this somebody who's selling some kind of medical treatment that is not, this is actually something that I was just reading about. There are a lot of for-profit kind of fake medical companies that are advertising tests right now for coronavirus or coronavirus antibodies that are not approved by the FDA, by the Food and Drug Administration. But they have a lot to gain as far as charging a lot of money for these tests. And so they are publishing articles that look like scientific reviews of these tests that are not. So make sure that not just the website, but the actual name of the organization is a trusted source. New York Times is a trusted source. New York City Times is not. Okay, does the headline or photo seem believable? Use your common sense. There are times that you'll see something in an article that is not true, that you're like, well, this is too unbelievable to be true. Even a photo can be doctored so that it is, it might appear to show something that that isn't real. Now, here is what we're really looking at. Do an online source and see if other respected news sources are reporting the same story. So this is something that I really want to emphasize here. When you read something that seems like it's out of the norm of what's being reported, that's where you have to stop and think twice. A real news story will usually be reported in a number of different places. And what I'm going to do is post, and actually we're going to come to the next slide. We'll have a couple of suggestions, but places where you as kids, as students, can find reliable sources. Take a look. If you're not sure about something, if you're like, this looks a little fishy, I saw it in one place, but you know what? It's not on this newspaper site. It's not on this other, kids news website. Make sure other sources are reporting the same story, because if they're not, it's highly likely that that story came from an unreliable source. Okay, so here are some that are reliable sources. The first one is Kidspost. That's what I'm going to be showing you in just a few minutes. National Geographic Kids, that's more, when you're talking about science and nature and things like that. Newsella is another one that is a subscription-based, but the school has a subscription. Tween Tribune is one that usually has a subscription, meaning that you would have to pay for it, but it is free right now. I think it's a great source. Time for Kids also, most of their content right now is free, not all of it, but these are sites that Mrs. Neville and I have spent a lot of time on. They have, they're really professionally done. The news is trustworthy. And so if you read something that is, that's somewhere else, not on one of these sites, I would look at that with a critical eye and go back to any one of these sites here and really see, can you confirm that information is true? So, more ways to find the fake. Keep scrutinizing. Okay. Look at the details mentioned in the article. Is there a person or place you don't recognize? Again, this is like, what I was just saying about confirming it in another source. Look it up. Look it up. Use the other resources, information resources like World Book and use these other news sites. Look it up and see if they're real. If there's a person, a place you don't recognize, confirm that it's true. And make sure that where you're looking it up is a trusted website. Grammar and graphic design. Now this is like, an interesting one, because just because something looks good doesn't mean that it is 100% trustworthy, but it can be a pretty good indication if it doesn't look good, that it's a bit fishy. So when you see, those websites that have like flashing lights and all caps and big bold words, like it says here, ask yourself, are they trying to grab my attention? And if so, why? If something is news, real news, it shouldn't need to have flashing lights. It's usually an indication that something is false and that they are trying to get your attention for a reason. Who wrote it? Okay, so a real news article will always have what's called a byline. Byline means by somebody. If you wrote an article, the first line of it would have your name. Is it easy to find information about who that person is, or are they hiding under a fake name, or did they even not leave a name at all? If somebody is not willing to sign their name to an article, often that means that it is not trustworthy. You want to have somebody who is proud to have written the article, who can back up the fact that they have published. And when you do find out who this person is, what other articles have they written? Do these articles seem trustworthy? If they're writing all about conspiracy theories about aliens and, then like maybe you don't want to trust this article that they wrote here. Okay, so again, why would someone write a piece of fake news? We're going to go back to that. So this is more of a discussion topic than a presentation topic. So think about it. Why do you think someone would write a piece of fake news? I can give you a few suggestions and ideas to think about. Usually they have something to gain or some kind of idea to promote, but it's not necessarily something that's backed up by truth or by science. Often it's from a business perspective. They have something that they're selling that they would like to make money on. Other times it is an idea that they are promoting that may not be true. Could be religious, could be political, could just be, things like conspiracy theories that somebody, personally believes, but there isn't information to back it up. So there are dozens and dozens of reasons why somebody would write and publish a piece of fake news. Sometimes it's just for personal gain, right? Attention. But we do need to be aware that this is out there. This is, one of the benefits of the internet is the amount of information that is out there and available to you as readers, as consumers of information. But it just means that we have to be out there looking for what's true and what isn't. Because as we know, like when we listened to the podcast about Wikipedia a few months ago, anybody can publish something on the internet. Okay, so think before you click, share, or send. Do you want to be the person who is promoting the false information? No, you do not. I cannot count the number of times I have gotten forwarded emails from relatives that include an article that is not accurate, because they just see something interesting and they say, hey, let me share this with everybody, before really taking a look to make sure that it's true. And why does this matter? This is a really important, I'm going to just keep going here, but why does this matter? This is a really important question. So what if you share something, right? No. Don't help fake news go viral, because what happens is when these stories get shared and shared and shared and more people read them and believe them, they listen to these articles. I'm thinking about a lot of stuff that's going on with medical treatment right now and coronavirus, and people are so eager to believe something that might be a solution or a treatment, that they're willing to go out and do something that may be dangerous, right? You don't want to be the person who's sharing something that isn't proven. You want to wait for science, you want to wait for accuracy, and make sure that we are helping to keep people safe and informed. And you can do your part by making sure that what you read and what you share is true. Thank you. That is fake news. Okay, so I'm going to stop screen sharing for just a moment, just to tell you about Kidspost. So Kidspost is the Washington Post's kids site. It is part of the Washington Post. Basically, our school has a subscription now to the Washington Post that includes Kidspost. Not every newspaper does a kids version. I was looking to see, the LA Times doesn't have something like this. While it would be wonderful to have something a little more local, the Washington Post really is a national newspaper, covering stories that are not just Washington, D.C. focused or about politics in the nation's capital, but really are national news that apply to all Americans. And this Kidspost does a really good job of giving intelligent, informative articles, some related to really current events news, others relating to, science and nature, relating to health, relating to, arts and entertainment, anything that you would find in a regular newspaper, but really with kids as their audience. I'm going to show you this again. I'm going to go back to sharing, and here we go. Here's Kidspost. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to show you the website, and then I'm going to leave a link to this with the password on your Google Classroom page. And what I would like everybody to do is explore it, to spend, I'm not asking for a lot of time, but to spend a few minutes and find just one article that interests you and read it and tell me about it. So I'm going to post what's called a Padlet. It's just a place where you can post a quick response to something. And I want you to tell me what article you read and like one sentence about it, that something that interests you, like one fact that you learned from it. So, there's, as you can see here, tiny backpacks show scientists the amazing lives of bats. Like, this is just like a science article. That's cool. You can follow a bat around and find out how they live, what it's like to be a bat. There are current events articles, special reports on coronavirus, space travel, history, things you didn't know about Thomas Jefferson, natural science, things about the environment, what it's like to be a park ranger, even book reviews. Now, I noticed I'm just going to click on this quickly. Book review. So One and Only Ivan, the sequel, The One and Only Bob, is coming out. I'm really excited to read that. I'm ordering it for the library. You can read the review of it and find out all about The One and Only Bob. So um, make sure you're staying on Kidspost. That's the one suggestion I'm going to say. See this? There's if the headline has this little Kidspost logo here, that means you're there. And if you kind of keep clicking back to it, and you don't go up in the it's called the masthead, then you're going to stay in Kidspost. Okay. So this is just, even sports. Baseball is back in South Korea, but here's what it looks like. So what I would like for you to do, I'm going to go back, stop share. I'm going to share this link with you, and I want you to just read a news article and just tell me on the Padlet that I've posted one thing that you found interesting in it. And the cool thing about Padlet is it's shared. So what we're going to be doing, it's basically like we're having a discussion, and you're going to be telling me and your classmates something that you read about, and we're having a discussion about the news, and we know that it's not fake news because we know where we read it, right? That's it, everybody. Please, if you have questions, if you're having trouble getting on to Kidspost, I'm gonna put the password up there. It's right now, it will be a more of a school password, but for right now, it's my school email address, and the password is Eagle1720. I'm gonna post it up there so you can see it, access it, and read the news. Okay. Happy reading, everybody.